Okay, got it. Okay, so once again, folks, welcome to Meherwan. And as I was saying, he's one of the few of us left on this planet that had the privilege of being born in a Baba family. And we are delighted to have him here today. Baba, of course, sent his name. He named him directly, from him, and spelled the same way, Merwan. And also wrote and said that he was Norina come again. So Merwan will expound on that. He'll fill us in on how this affected him growing up and the people surrounding him, his family, and so forth. And I'm sure many, many other details. So with that in mind, Merwan, I won't take up more time. The floor is yours, all yours. Welcome.
Okay, Jai Baba, Jai Baba. Well, it's nice to be with all of you and exchange ideas. Now, like you said, I was born in a Baba family, and it's got its pluses and minuses. So I kind of will give you a brief history of how I grew up and all that. And then I think it might kind of be of interest to people to ask me questions and then kind of take me where they want. So I kind of am open on everything that you would like me to ask. So to tell you a little about my family, like I said in the write-up, my granduncles first went to Meherabad when Baba first established his ashram there. And when he established the ashram, they used to every morning walk there. And my granduncles were one of the few people who could say that they had heard Baba talk. A lot of people have seen Baba, but they were able to say, yeah, we heard Baba. Baba used to talk. And that's how my family kind of got interested in, and they kind of became early followers of Meher Baba. And then Baba used to kind of go from Meherazad to Meherabad and used to stop at Akbar Press. We used to live in Akbar Press. Akbar Press is the property that my granduncles had bought, and then it is right opposite the bus stand in Ahmednagar. And so it's midway between Meherazad and Meherabad. And so that's how the association with Baba started. And I guess one of the few stories I remember is my mother always telling me, oh yeah, Baba used to come and all that. And one thing that kind of always amazed me was Baba found time to come and talk to them and kind of really made an impression on them. But at the same time, it was kind of really worth seeing for me to see how much effect Baba had on the family. And so a lot of the relationships that grew, a lot of marriages that happened were with kind of influence from Baba. So Baba kind of also influenced my mom and dad. And so my dad was an early follower of Meher Baba from Mumbai. And so my dad came to Baba before he got married, and then somehow got introduced to my mom. And so that's how kind of they got married. And so for a while, we used to live in Mumbai for quite a while. My dad that time was interested in the Baba Center there in Mumbai. And so he used to be a secretary there and kind of run that center. And then as things happened, they decided to move from Mumbai to Ahmednagar. And so then we started living in Ahmednagar. And then when we lived in Ahmednagar, it kind of was life as normal. But then what happened was I was put in a boarding school there in Pune. And so when I was put in a boarding school, it kind of changed some things for me. But the boarding school, if some of you know Pune, it was right across from Guru Prasad in right near Bund Garden there. And so we used to kind of go to Guru Prasad, and naturally growing up in the Baba family, my one of my aunts was Roshan Kerawala. I'm sure some of you know her. And so Roshan Kerawala, she used to kind of come and visit me in the boarding school there. And then on Sundays, she used to take me to Guru Prasad. And so we used to go to Guru Prasad and clean up things and get things ready for Baba to come from Ahmednagar. So those are kind of my memories. And One of the few things that I remember about Baba is when I was 10, the marriage of Dara and Amrit happened in Ahmednagar. And so those are one of my kind of distinct memories where uh, Baba is standing on the veranda there in Meherazad. And then we kind of walked past and kind of bowed to him and kind of greeted him. And that kind of amazingly, it's kind of pretty well burnt in my mind how Baba looked at that time, which is kind of amazing in retrospect, why kind of it's so well established. But yeah, that's how it is. And so growing up in the Baba family, you kind of take a lot of things for granted. And so at some point in time, you kind of begin to feel, oh yeah, all this is okay. And then there's too much pressure because everybody is feeling, oh yeah, that's the way it is. You kind of not question anything and you kind of go with that. So in fact, at one point in time, when you kind of become a teenager, you naturally start questioning everything, and then you kind of start learning about science, and then you start learning about things, and start reading about Darwin and kind of how everything evolved, and there's no need for a external force to make it all happen because it's all kind of a part of things that happen in a kind of a systematic way. And so for a while, kind of I got into that, and I thought, oh yeah, this kind of maybe this is all kind of happens by itself, and I don't think there's a need for God or anything like that. And so you begin to kind of think in those lines. And in fact, one of the things that really kind of set me straight was uh, at that time, Baba kind of passed away then. And then after that, uh, in Meherazad, Baba's image came on that tree there. And I'm sure some of you have seen the picture of that tree. And so, in fact, I was lucky to kind of just after a few days go and actually see the tree. And so when I went and saw the tree, and that kind of set me thinking. I said, wait a minute now, what would it take for all of these? And it was amazing because all these knots on the tree, they had kind of arranged themselves to form this distinct image of Baba. And that was just kind of amazing. And that kind of got me thinking. I said, well, what is the probability of that happening? You know, it's just amazing. Uh, People say, oh yeah, uh, one thing led to the other, and it all evolved, and then we became humans and all that. And so that kind of started me thinking in a different direction. And then I began to think, oh yeah, there has to be a reason for why things happen. There has to be a kind of a force behind all this that happens. And then, like it happens, I then went to engineering school, and so that time kind of I was very interested in going to engineering. So I was in Ahmednagar for a while, and then I was in Ahmednagar College. I studied there for 2 years, and then got transferred into the engineering college in Pune, and then went to the engineering college in Mumbai. And then that time when I started designing things and got into more of mechanical things and things like those, that kind of started me thinking, wait a minute, what does it take to design a very simple thing? And then if you're talking about a plant or a human or all these things that we see in nature, what would it take to make that happen? And so eventually I started becoming a kind of a follower of intellect design. And so intelligent design, that's what kind of at the moment that's the way I look at things. I say everything is so kind of intelligently designed. There's no way that all this could have just evolved by itself. And so that was kind of my thing. And so over time, then I started thinking more on those lines and started naturally reading about Baba and all that. And then I kind of began to see, so what is it that truly Baba is trying to tell us? And Baba's whole thing about consciousness and about how he wants us to kind of love each other and work with each other to make these things happen kind of have really played a big role in my life. And so that is essentially where I am at now, in my mid 60s, thinking about all that. And uh, but the thing is, you have to go through all those things to come to a point wherein you begin to see these things. And so, no way I could have imagined, I could have realized all this when I was in my 20s, maybe. but that's the journey. And one of the things that I really feel about Baba is having grown up in the Baba family, for quite a while, I think that's what happened in my life was I truly did not understand the difference between a human and a god man, and that kind of at some point in time you think, oh yeah, Baba is there, and so you say, oh yeah, I'm okay, all are humans, and then Baba is also some at some point. But Baba, if a divine person were to come in human form, it's not just that, it's just kind of it's so very different. And so that's when I started to begin to think, okay, we really need to understand what he's here to say. We cannot just see his physical form and make a determination, because if he and he is the god man, we really need to start thinking in terms of his infinite kind of knowledge, understanding his love and all that, rather than just see him as a human. And so that is one of the things that I kind of really started doing these days, is to kind of read more about him and try to understand, okay, so what is it that he tries to do with us. So I guess that's pretty much what I'm kind of wanting to tell you in terms of what happened. But my journey has been pretty, in some ways, straightforward, I would say. You grow up with Baba, you grow up in the Baba family. And it was funny because a lot of times you go to the center in Myrtle Beach, and then you start talking with people, and they'll tell you how they came to. And actually, one of my best questions to ask them is, okay, so what brought you to Baba, right? And so they would start telling me, oh, this happened and that happened. And then I always wonder, so Baba, where are all of my experiences about all these? I don't know, go ahead if you feel like that. That's how I felt.
Maybe you've already had those experiences, Meherwan. This is why you're here at this stage right now. So, he's opening you up to new experiences now.
Yeah, must be. So, yeah, and then there's another thing about this Norina. So he kind of said about Norina, and uh, that did kind of affect me, especially. I mean, when you grow up, after a while, it doesn't affect me, but growing up as a boy, maybe 10, 12 years, and then uh, people say, oh yeah, so you were a girl in the other life, is that what, right? So, and it's the kind of a whole thing there. And you have to remember, I was in a boarding school. And so in a boarding school, I mean, that wasn't the easiest way to kind of grow up. And I remember, in fact, one time what had happened was I was maybe 8 or 9, and this boarding school. And if some of you are passing by that Bun Garden there, you need to see that. That's a beautiful school. It's just the J.N. Pitt Technical School. It's kind of a really nice, and they've kept it the way it was then also. So at maybe 7 in the evening, car rolls in, a fancy car, and 3 ladies come out of that, and they're asking to meet me. And so these people are saying, now, who are these 3 ladies that have come to meet you? And it was Elizabeth, Jane Haynes, and Wendy. And so these 3 ladies, they came to meet me. And you can imagine just being a boy there without my parents. And I'm saying, okay, so now I'm trying to kind of relate to all that. And why are these ladies here? What are they trying to talk to me about? Now, the only thing good was Elizabeth brought a kind of one of those models of USS Enterprise. And it's like the ship that you build out of these plastic components. And then you kind of stick it, and then put all those lights on it. And then it's got a motor, and then you can kind of make the ship go around. And so I remember that was the good part about that. After they left and gave me that ship, I became a very popular boy in school. Everybody wanted to now play with this boat, and we put this boat together. And the way we had the showers there in the school, we had a huge shower where 30 people could shower at the same time. I mean, we were saving water, right? So it's like all 12 showers will be opened, and then all of us take the shower at the same time. And it had got a nice kind of way. And what we used to do was we used to kind of plug the outlet, fill the whole thing, and then ride the boat in that. So that But I mean, yeah, and so that's how I grew up and always wondered what it was all and things like those. But the good thing also was then after I went to college, then Elizabeth and I became friends. So we kind of exchanged a lot of letters and we wrote to each other. And she never mentioned about this whole thing, but she just kind of kept it very straight and just it was amazing. And that's kind of the whole thing that happened with that. But the thing is, that was another thing that really amazed me also was some of the people who were with Baba, how much faith they must have, because they, like two people distinctly were Adele, and I'm sure some of you know Adele Walkins, and then Margaret Krask. And so I kind of met both of them in a few years back, and at that time I was amazed at how they interacted. Adele all the time interacted with me as if I was not Merwan Mehta, and so it was amazing how the relation. But I was just I was very friendly with Adele, so we had a good time, and so that worked out good. But the interesting thing about Margaret Krask was in 88, my mother came to visit us in the US. I moved to the US in 87. And then my mother came to visit us. And so my mother had a wish to go and see the Myrtle Beach Center. So we took her to the center. So it was me, my brother, my wife, and then my mother-in-law, and then my nephew. And all of us kind of went to the center there. And that time we met um, uh, Kitty was there, and then naturally Jane Haynes was there. So we met them, and then Margaret Krask was there. And so I went to meet Margaret Krask, and so they kind of. Yes, Tony, you're right. So I mean, and here is the funny thing. So somebody told me to sit beside Margaret, so I sit beside Margaret, and the first thing that Margaret said to me was, "You never liked me, did you?" And that was the
I
first
love
thing she's not said hello, Jay Mama.
Oh, that's too.
And and now you can imagine I'm what I was maybe 28, 29. So naturally I got up and I immediately hugged her tight and said, Margaret, where did you get that idea? I always loved you. Well, I mean, this is amazing that she had that kind of a feeling for that.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, and so yeah, so my journey with Baba has been really up and down, but I mean, it's just there's no question in my mind about his stature and about his kind of Elizabeth to everyone. What did Margaret say? Yeah, I told you. Margaret said, "You never liked me, did you?"
Meaning,
And so yeah, so
yeah.
I guess I would open it up for questions, and I'm sure we'll have a much more lively kind of a discussion once you
Yeah.
start asking specific questions. So,
Uh, Mirwan, let me start. What were your parents' names, please? If you
so my
your
mother was Meru Mehta,
Meru
and
Mehta,
Meru Mehta, yeah. So her mother was
Shirin.
Shirin
Yeah,
Damania, right? And
right.
Shirin Damania was one of the Satha sisters, and
Yeah,
so my grandma Shirin was the sister of Gaimai, who
yes.
was Eruch's mother.
Mother,
So
right.
that's how Eruch and I also are connected. So we were cousins that way, and so
And your dad's name was
that was Barjor Mehta.
Oberjo. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So in fact, that was one of the things that was interesting was uh, it always was um, Eruch was always kind of I always confided in Eruch, and so at one point in time, I think it was in the maybe 94 or something, they invited me to the LA Sahavas. And so and Adele was there. And so naturally Adele wanted me to talk more about Norina and all that. And so I told Erach, so tell me under what circumstances all this happened. And so what are your memories of when all this happened? And one thing that Erach told me has guided me uh, throughout my life after that point. Erach said, forget everything, just live your life the way you're now. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm just going to ignore all that. If anybody wants to believe or anything, that's that. I don't know what the purpose was that Baba did that, but I'm just going to kind of take Eruch's advice, and that has really kind of kept up with me well. So,
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
there are some other questions. Some people are asking me questions. Let me see if I can see.
Yeah, if anybody questions.
Okay, so somebody said I had no Elizabeth was a Star Trek fan. No, she gave me a USS Enterprise. That's the ship, the
That was
USS
joke.
Enterprise. Okay.
I think he was joking.
Okay.
So anyone have questions? Please raise.
So there was one question. Somebody asked, "What was Gaimai like as a person?"
Oh,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh, she was the sweetest person you can have. I mean, no question about that. Gaimai was a very, very sweet person, and she always. And now, if you know, there was Gaimai, and then my grandma, Shirin Mai, and then Gulamai. Gulamai passed away early, and then Banumasi. And if you know, Banumasi was like the the very energetic person, always kind of going for it. But Gaimai was like the most kind of serene person, always trying to kind of get along with everybody, and she had only nice things to say to everybody. So
Very sweet soul. Yes, definitely. Okay, I think Tina has a question. Go ahead, Tina.
Yes. Well, were you conscious of being Norina Machabelli? And how did that affect you?
So no, I was not conscious at any time of being Norina. So in a way, I mean that's pretty clear that it never kind of gave me any memories of the past or anything like that. Uh, how did it affect me? It affected me when I was a kid, naturally, because everybody wanted to treat you kind of differently, and so that kind of really kind of made me question why are they treating me differently or something like that. And that's like I was saying about the school also, when Elizabeth and Jane Haynes along with Wendy came to see me, it was just kind of like a different kind of a thing. But I mean, in some ways it did affect me positively also, because then in my later years I became friendly with Elizabeth, and we had kind of exchanged some really nice times together. We just interchanged ideas and things like those, and so I really enjoyed the interactions I was able to have with Elizabeth.
So you don't remember being Norina.
No, I don't.
You
So
have you ever had a past life regression?
I have thought of that, but then I get scared of that because Baba said don't get into all that. So I don't know. I have not. But yes, I have thought of doing a past life regression, and then I said, what do I have to gain? Let me not just worry about it. So yeah.
go ahead, Josh. Your turn.
Yes, I feel like, yeah, I want to encourage you to live your life, like what Erich said, because I try to never underestimate Barber's infinite working. And it could have been that his real work was just getting everyone to believe that you were Norina and not necessarily Norina. And I do think you're most probably Norina. But I'm in a similar situation where, like, I'm one of the only young Barber lovers in Sydney, Australia, that's sort of really into it. And so everyone's like asking, oh, what date were you born? And, asking, thinking if I had a past life with Barber. And it's interesting because I get the strong intuition that Barber very clearly allows me to tell them no, or just to reject that. I think, it's interesting because I fear it would be very easy for me to fall into a trap where I think that I'm spiritually advanced or whatever and start telling people what to do. But anyway, I'm interested in what interesting ways you think the Barber lovers of the future are going to adapt to this changing world that Barber's making. I feel like since COVID, Barber has turned the key a little bit on the world stage, and I think we're slowly entering a different stage, maybe a little bit as, closer to more spiritual renunciation. Who knows? But yeah, I'm wondering what you as a person, think is going to happen in the Barber lover world to the future, and what you'd like to see. Just anything that you feel prompted to talk to about that, or what you're passionate about, basically.
Yeah. So I would say Baba has given us everything that there is to live maybe the next 10,000 years by. And so he's kind of pretty much said it very well. Love is all matter. Love is all that matters. It only matters how you kind of approach God and how you're kind of trying to live by the positive principles and not to get too attached into religion. How Baba said, I'm going to try and bring all the religions on a string like beads. And so that is the whole thing about that. So I feel if we as Baba people kind of pretty much live by those and propagate those in our lives and kind of show how we're doing it, I think we have uh, the vision for the next thousands of years, because that's all we have to do is just and Baba said I'm coming back in 700 anyway, so maybe when he comes back he'll kind of again kind of wake up humanity. But I mean, it is just amazing. It is amazing how much negativity and how much kind of hate is there in the world, and for what reason. I mean, they just kind of are amazed at that. And I do believe in some ways unnecessarily getting too deep into religion causes a lot of these issues. And so if you truly look at religion, what religion does is it kind of brings these middlemen, and then naturally they have to make a living, and so they think, oh yeah, let's propagate things that are going to benefit us. And so they say, well, okay, if you want to approach God, you have to approach God through us. And so that is the issue there. And that's going to be there because there are going to be some people who do not have a productive vocation, and so they kind of feel the best way is to sell God and kind of sell approach to God. And so that's the bad part about that, but that's not going away. So, and another thing that I've also realized is Baba said that it's you will always have negative things. So just be ready for that. So you cannot say it's all going to be kind of a hunky dory. It's all going to clean up. No, it's not going to happen. You will have to kind of go through that, because there will be a lot of people who are going to bring that negativity into the world, and they're going to try to kind of do everything to promote their own agendas. And so that might not be and then a lot of people are kind of selfish. I mean, they don't want to put in a honors day or kind of a really a honorable day of labor, and they just want to kind of talk about things and kind of sell religion. So I'm kind of totally against that. And believe me, I mean, I was born a Zoroastrian, and so in a number of ways, I feel some of the Zoroastrian priests also try to do that. So sorry, go ahead, but that's my opinion.
No. Absolutely none taken at all. Even though I'm married into a priestly family, Zoroastrian family, but hey, when we first got, first thing I told my husband, listen, where Baba is concerned, that's it. You're never going to take me away from him. So
okay, that's good.
So yeah, the lines were drawn pretty early. So that part does not faze me at all.
That's good. So somebody asked me, and Shirin, was she fiery? So Shirin, fiery. So Shirin, and what was she like as a grandmother? I mean, she was a very, very loving person, Shirin. So my grandmother, she had arthritis, and so she was in bed for the last few years, and so. But she was a very loving grandmother. But she had a control of the whole house, so she ran the whole house precisely, and so nobody could do anything. She had the accounting. She had the servants were all reporting to her. She knew exactly what was happening, and so yeah, I remember her. She ran the house really well. And somebody's asking me if I'm related to Noshir Bharucha. No, I'm not related. And somebody said he's also Roshan Kerawala's nephew. I don't know which Roshan Kerawala you're talking about, but the Roshan Kerawala that I'm talking about is she was the daughter of Homi Satha, and she was married to Sam Kerawala, and Sam Kerawala was Banu Masi's son. So,
yeah.
Okay.
All right, Tony, you're up next.
Okay, I have to look at my notes because it's so easy to just flow of what everyone's saying. When let's see if I remember this now. When I was 9, my father, 1961, and my grandson was born in 2005. And when he was 3 years old, he said to my daughter, I was grandpa's daddy, out of the blue. And it immediately rang true. And the elements, the energy of my relationship with that 3-year-old was, I knew he was. And from then on, it's been really nice to see him growing, to be around him, to see where he's different than he was then. And it occurs to me that Elizabeth was very close to Norina and loved her, so that it must have been such a delight for her in a new chapter, The other thing I just wanted to mention was you said something and you tripped on your words and you corrected yourself. But what you said by mistake just a while struck me extremely profound. You meant to say, and you corrected yourself to say, Baba said, love is all that matters. But the way it first came out, and especially with your scientific bent, it struck me. The way Baba says, love is all matter. And I thought, yes, we never think of it that way. But
It's
yeah.
true.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe there's some truth in that.
That's right.
So yeah, you telling me about Elizabeth and Norina, but Adele Walkins, she took care of Norina in her last days, and so that was quite a kind of a great relationship that I enjoyed with Adele for her last few years, and so in fact. I was kind of lucky. We moved maybe at 3.5 hours, 4 hours from Myrtle Beach. And so Adele came to our house here a number of times, and we really had some great times with Adele. And yeah, you're right. It's amazing. I'm sure. She always thought that it was a different kind of a relationship, but I enjoyed my relationship with her. So. Okay, so what other questions do you have?
I think we have Meher up next. Meher?
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
I'm speaking from Bombay. Okay. I wanted to ask.
So you are in the morning. That's good. So we are in the late night.
It's my morning. Yeah. Okay. I wanted to ask you being in the boarding school just opposite this thing, Guru Prasad, how did you feel as a Baba lover? How did you feel?
So that the boarding school is a Parsi boarding school, right? It was a Zoroastrian boarding school. So yeah, we followed all the Zoroastrian kind of things. We had to kind of do Zoroastrian prayers, and we had to do all that. And so yeah, it was. I mean, I had a kind of I would say the time that I spent there, I always felt that why was I in a boarding school? Because you can imagine from third grade onwards, I was maybe 6 when I went there to the boarding school. And in fact, in later years, I did ask my mom, why did you put me in a boarding school? And what she told me was, you were kind of too much for us to handle. And so when she had 2 other boys, she decided, let me put this oldest boy in the boarding school. So yeah, I mean, it was a good education. In retrospect, I enjoyed my time there. I was a good student, so I mean, in a way that helped me. And so I cannot. In fact, the boarding school is still there, and it's a technical school, so got a lot of technical skills which have kind of come in handy in my career. So I cannot say enough good things for my school. So
thank you.
Meher Prasad.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Merwan, you were here a year or two back on Baba Zoom. And one of the things you said really stuck with me. And it really resonated with me. And I shared it with many people at my work. And it resonated with a lot of people. Although I didn't take your name, so nobody knows you by your name. But I did tell that, a wise man once said, and then
oh, come on.
And I said this, which is what you shared. You said that being aligned is more important than being right. Those were the words he used, and it was so profound for me, and it has helped me a lot. So I just wanted to share that as a comment. And then I have two questions. First one is what Jeff typically asks, um, which is, how does Baba show up in your daily life at an inner level? And then the second one is, I want to read one of my most favorite Baba quotes, and then I'll ask a question on that. Hope you can you can shed some light from your point of view. This is the quote that Baba gave during the East-West gathering, and it formed the basis of my own inner life with him. So here is the quote: "The way of my work is the way of effacement, which is the way of strength, not of weakness. And through it, you become mature in my love. At this stage, you cannot know what real love is, but through working for me, as you should work for me, you will arrive at that ripeness where, in a moment, I can give you that for which you have been millions of years seeking." Somebody needs to mute.
Now, we missed some of that. If you can reread it.
Yeah, if somebody can mute, I think somebody has to. All right, I think that's better. Yeah, let me read that again. "The way of my work is the way of effacement, which is the way of strength, not of weakness. And through it, you become mature in my love. At this stage, you cannot know what real love is, but through working for me, as you should work for me, you will arrive at that ripeness where, in a moment, I can give you that for which you have been millions of years seeking." My question is, what is your take on working for me as you should work for me? What does that mean to you?
Well, okay, very, very deep question, but let me answer it this way. So, the way I kind of try to live by Baba's tenets there is I have tried to become more conscious in things that I do that do not uh, agree with what Baba has said. So if I'm doing something and I say, oh, I'm going to cut this person off, I'm going to do something, oh, wait a minute, that's not what I should be doing. And so just by being more mindful of what Baba wants us to do, and I have not by any stretch of the imagination approached it, but that's the approach I take these days, is to stay more mindful in my thoughts and actions when I'm trying to do things which are going against what I know Baba told us to do. And so that kind of is helping me become closer and closer to Baba. And and you said earlier, it is interesting that you still remember that it's more important to be aligned than right. And believe me, I use that as a motto, and I do a lot of operational excellence work in companies, and I try to help them become better. And one of the major things, and I'm sure it's all over the world, especially in the US, but all over the world, people do not want to do things that the team has agreed to do. And so that's why when a team agrees this is the best way we need to do that, we still would come up with a different way, thinking that we are right and the others are, what the others are trying to pursue is wrong. And that kind of throws us in the wrong direction. And so in fact, that was one of the things that I usually push, is I say, okay, you might think you're right, but for a season, for a few months or for a few weeks, I want you to give up being right and follow what all of you have agreed to do. And I truly believe, I kind of have made a career based on operational excellence and trying to improve these companies and organizations. But I feel that if everybody just started to do this one thing, I would be out of business, because now they would know, oh, all we have to do is just get together, agree that this is what we're going to do, and do it, and not kind of a cheat and do something different than what we are required to do. So yeah, I think that is a great thing you caught on, and it is a really important concept.
I found there is so much truth in that in the last, since the time you shared that. And there is a corollary to that you also shared, which is, I don't remember the exact words you used, but you said, disagree, but without, agree, but without silent disagreements, something along those lines. So those two were really so profound in my work. So thank you.
So the other is to disagree. You do not have to be disagreeable. So if I want to disagree with you, I can be still nice about it and tell you why I disagree with you, and then share where I come from. And that's the whole point there. And then the other that I also use a lot is when you said silent disagreement, that's another thing I use, silent disagreement. So in fact, I teach them how to do consensus and how to do consensus decision making. And in consensus decision making, you kind of make clear how the decision will be made. And one of the things you tell them is, okay, we're here to discuss this, and there will not be any silent disagreement. So if you disagree with something, you better come out with it, because once we have finished this meeting and we have decided this is the way we're going to do it, then we're going to be then it's going to be more important for us to be right than aligned than right. And then you cannot say, oh, since I did not say anything in the meeting, it does not apply to me. So yeah, it's all what you are saying is how to form consensus amongst us to do the things that need to be done. And in fact, one of the things that I really remember about Baba is, and I don't know where I read it, but Baba said at one point in time that I can tell you all these rules, and I can tell you what to do and how to love, and why love is important for humans and all that. But one thing I cannot do is make you get to know and get to make you interact with each other in a positive manner. That you have to do it by yourself. So I can help you with the rest of it, but you need to figure out how you're going to get together and how you're going to get along with others to make the world a better place. But thank you, Meherabad. That is good that you caught on to that. Interesting.
And my second question, please.
What was your second question? I'm sorry.
On the quote, there is, what does it mean when he says, working for me as you should work for me? What does that mean to you?
So working for me, like, yeah. So in that, and I think pretty much the same answer there is, the way I'm looking at this is, Baba has given us how to behave in the world. What is the ideal way to live? What are the things we should do, we should not do? And so the way I look at it, working for Baba is trying to follow those. And when we don't follow those, you make a conscious effort to say, okay, I am kind of going away from that path that Baba wants us to be on, knowing well that Baba does not want me to be there. So yes, I kind of try to bring that into my life and say, okay, so yeah, these are the things that, Baba's, if you actually look at it, Baba said some very straightforward things, right? Love each other and kind of don't get into too much of these religious things, and make sure you treat everybody as humans. And he kind of said all the kind of things that are very simple, but they're not easy to follow. And so the whole thing is, how are you going to take these simple things and bring into your life so that it kind of does work for Baba? So that's the way I approach it. Where are you located, Meherabad? You're in India.
I'm in Seattle.
Oh, you're in Seattle. Oh, okay. You're better off then. I guess it's only 8 o'clock for you. That's good.
Yes. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, Josh, you're up next.
Yeah, that's so true what you said. He just gives they're easy things, but then they're so hard for me to do, consistently.
It's simple but not easy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I always feel like with myself that it's sort of like in my basically the activity that takes up most of my time. So, if I'm a working person, it'll be work. If I'm a full-time mum, it'll be mum or being a dad or whatever, is where I feel like the bulk of my life lessons are. And I'm wondering if you feel like what life lessons you've had from your career, if you want to expound on them anymore. You've talked about them a bit, and if you feel like you've talked about them enough, you can stop. But if you want more, I'd love to hear more.
That's a good question. So, in fact, it's amazing. I try to show people how to work in teams, how to kind of achieve kind of things as a group. And one of the things that I tell them is there is one attribute that research has found is different in high performing teams that is not there in mediocre teams. And so then you kind of ask people, okay, so what do you think is this one attribute? There's only one attribute. So what would you think is this one attribute that is there in high performing teams that is not there in mediocre teams? And naturally people will say, oh yeah, communication, the leader's vision, how the leader is trustworthy and all these things. But what was found was this: in a high performing teams, everybody wanted everybody else to be the best they can be for the benefit of the team. Now think about that. That's not something that belongs in business. That's something which belongs in a church, or when we're talking about these spiritual matters. Because now you're trying to say, okay, so you need to really behave in a team as if you truly care about the other person, so the other person becomes as good as they can so that they benefit the team. And then naturally you believe that the other person should get as good as possible, and then the other person believes that you should become as good as possible for the benefit of the team. And so that is essentially, I mean, it's amazing. A number of times I'm talking Baba when I'm even trying to improve these teams and improve these processes, because that's a lot of kind of things there. And I mean, some of the things are really kind of things. Okay, if you don't like a person, go and talk to the person more. In fact, it's amazing how many times I start talking about backbiting, and I tell them, do not backbite in a team. Now I'm telling them in a company, don't backbite, because that is going to bring you down. If you backbite, if you're going to talk behind somebody's back, it's going to get back to that person. And if you have something against that person, go and directly confront that person and say, okay, I really want to talk with you. Let's kind of have a coffee, or let's have a beer or something in a kind of a quiet place and kind of sort this out. And it's amazing. I mean, all of these things that we talk about in terms of spiritual matters, what I found is all those apply in corporate life also. And that brings success in corporate life through that also.
Rich?
Well, it's nice to meet you, Merwan. I haven't schooled myself in a lot of the history. I was trying to remember exactly who your grandmothers and whatever were, but I've listened to Peter Nordine, of course, and tried to pay attention when he's talking. But I just read a book about Gulnar, which is Gaimai, probably to you, and she was hardcore, the older group, who, if they bought the property from Meherabad, right? Her and her husband, and blah 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 blah. Anyway, but those were very stern days, as near as I could tell. I mean, it was all patriarchal and very stern. Now, speaking about you, my impression of you immediately is, for me, I see what you're speaking of now. It's not who you are, but what you're speaking about to me is sort of the deep wisdom of the Indian insight into human culture transposed onto American culture. And I have a problem. I'm very dysfunctional. So I really don't trust people on that level at all. I just don't. I trust Meher Baba, and that's it. I'm done with that. There is nothing else for me because it doesn't work for me. So I have to find out the hard way. Oh, so that's what they're really like. That's what that ego is about. But these are at very low levels. So you're dealing with people who are sophisticated. Most probably, they're not working at a very low level of ego life. I'm generalizing, and you can talk to them in ways that promote some sort of self-awareness in them. I've talked to a lot of people where I have to actually push that whole concept. Become self-aware. You remember the avatar, don't you? I'm going way, right? So, that doesn't work, of course. But I guess I've said all I can say, but I think also you're really grounded. And I'm not someone who's really grounded. And I admire that. It's a great trait to be grounded in this world so that you can deal with things in a functional way. And so you're really speaking to that. Anyway, I'm glad I met you. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too.
Go ahead, Tony.
Hi, Merwan. I had some thoughts. I put one in the chat, and I just want to say, have you considered writing a book on the principles you employ in your work for operational excellence? I imagine it would be quite valuable to many people.
That's a good thought. So yeah, I'm working on a book, but that is more of it's got some tools that we use and then some philosophies that I have. So it's like a combination of both. And now the tools that I use are mostly tools that the Toyota manufacturing company kind of came up with, the whole concept of a lean enterprise. How do you lean up kind of operation? How do you make the operation as efficient as possible through cutting waste and reducing variation and reducing complexity? So there are a lot of tools that I employ, and that's what kind of I'm trying to cover in the book that it is going to come out, because that's one of the books that I also use in my courses that I teach. But the thing is, and you're right, maybe at some point in time, just come up with the soft skills and the soft ideas, because a number of times, and I tell my participants also that all these tools are fine, all the math and all the computers and all these tools that we have are good. But if you cannot really work with people, if you cannot relate with people, then it's not going to really work out well for you. So, and in fact, some of you might be interested. One of the kind of philosophies that I promote in doing my consulting work is the philosophy, what I call, and it's not my words, it's already an established kind of idea, the idea of servant leadership. So it's like servant leadership. And if you do some research, you'll kind of see what it is to be a servant leader, and how do you kind of really work with your people to really get the organization going on the right path. And so servant leadership is what I use. So who knows, I guess at some point in time, maybe get all these ideas. But another thing that I do is I publish a lot of, naturally being in academics, and that's what I do. I'm a professor here at East Carolina University in the College of Engineering and Technology. And so we are required to publish a lot of papers and things like those. So yeah, I published quite a bit. And so if some of you are interested, I kind of can give you some URLs to download my papers, and you can kind of go from there.
So, Merwan, what I meant, though, was not so much academic books, but just the kind of thing that you are telling us right now. I worked with this person, and I said, what did I, but filling in more, so-and-so had a grievance about such, and I said, and then they did this. And you don't have to use the names, but the dynamic and the joy, it should carry the joy that we're picking up listening to you describe it. And the other thing I wanted to say, which was a little tongue-in-cheek, but when you were talking about giving consensus training, I was wondering if you could give classes to our U.S. Congress right now. No answer.
Oh, Lord.
Good one, Tony.
Now that's a job for the avatar. I don't think.
That's right. That's right. That's right. All right. Paula, go ahead.
Hi, Merwan.
Hi.
What a delight this is to meet you and to see you and hear from you tonight. And I too agree that just a lot of what you speak of is it's almost like nonviolent communication or something. It's just like I think it would be really beneficial to write some kind of handbook or book on what you speak of, your life experience day to day, in your career. There's many life lessons, there that would be really valuable. So anyhow, so you live in the Carolinas?
That is correct. North Carolina. Yeah.
Oh, in North Carolina, and in near where? What city?
I'm near Raleigh. I'm 100 miles east of Raleigh.
Okay.
The name of the town is Greenville, North Carolina.
Oh, okay. Greenville, North Carolina. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, very nice meeting you, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I feel it's I'm too young to write kind of a book like that. Don't have enough knowledge or haven't enough understanding of Baba to kind of write that book. But who knows, maybe in the next 10, 15 years, if I'm alive, might consider writing a book.
Well, I hope you are, and I hope you do.
Thank you.
Meherwan, we have another question from Marta, and she's asking if these principles can be used for family dynamics when there is a conflict or disagreement.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. Hey, you gave me an idea for a paper.
There you go, Marta. Good for you. Yay.
So I've written a paper on what can be learned from Lincoln about all these ideas and how to kind of get these principles. And so what could we learn from Lincoln is one paper I wrote. Another was I wrote on servant leadership that I was talking about. At one point in time, I also thought of what did Meher Baba have to say on operational excellence, which I haven't gotten to that yet. But the idea that you're kind of telling me is how to apply these operational excellence principles in a family. And that would be kind of very interesting. But yeah, you're right. Family, the advantage in a family that I see that others don't have is you have a total commitment first. And so one of the important things that we try to bring in a company is that commitment is needed, that there's no kind of a definite understanding that the trust is there in a business like it is there in a family. And so that's an advantage, and I think that's a great idea. So maybe, yeah, but definitely you can apply these principles, how to create consensus. And I mean, the thing is, these principles are not my principles. It's principles that Baba has said so many times, and I guess a lot of others kind of also that I've kind of used in this. But the main thing here is, how do you get along with humans? How do you make sure that we get to the absolute base and relate to each other to really understand where each of us are coming from, and then talk about it. And sometimes you have to kind of say, well, from where you're coming, it's too egoistic, or you're kind of too much thinking of just yourself, or you're not thinking of others, and kind of that just kind of is not going to do well for you. So and we have found that whenever somebody, an organization or a country or whatever, is thinking too much from just one side, it just doesn't work out. And we're seeing that in the world also these days, right? I mean, we're just saying that, yeah, you're just saying, oh, I'm just going to close my doors and I'm just going to make sure that all of the things inside my doors are fine, but then outside, whatever happens, I'm not going to worry about that. No, that does not never works, because it again at some point in time affects you what happens inside. So that's the whole point there. And the same principles work in a family that work in the thing. And And I mean, the thing is, it's all about love. So love is universal. So it does not have to be kind of just confined to a family. So I see some other questions. Go ahead. Let me see here. This says, I used to love to listen to Roshan Kerawala sing the ancient Zoroastrian prayer at the Samadhi when I visited Meherabad, India. I had tea with Sam and Roshan and their dogs. Yeah. Sam was quite a person. I can understand.
Yes.
Yeah. And so did Roshan. So yeah.
So Elizabeth, you're up. Was that your question, Elizabeth?
That wasn't my question, but I did make that comment because I absolutely adored listening to Roshan sing at the Samadhi, and that prayer is one I really love, although I don't know how to sing it myself, but it's one of my favorites. I have a question, and I hope it's an appropriate question. It's about when there is conflict or disagreement between people. And my question has to do with trust. So if two people are having an argument or disagreement, and and the people are trying to resolve it, but one says, you have to tell the truth. What that says to me is that person does not trust the other person. So the question is, how do we resolve conflicts when there's an issue of trust, or the perception is that one person is not telling the truth, even though that person may be? And how does one deal with the perception of another person that is skewed from what is really inside yourself, which would make it harder to resolve a conflict or difference?
That's an excellent question. So what I kind of try to do is whenever you are interacting with a person, there's only so much that you can dig in. So it's just like a person after a while is going to say, well, I'm not going to let you behind this line. And so that is how far I'm going to be able to kind of talk with you or trust you. And you have to just kind of explore if you can kind of take that person beyond that. But if that person is not ready to kind of cross that line and say, well, okay, I just don't want to talk about it, you can't do anything there. You will have to kind of in some ways give that person some time to just come to that point. It'll never so happen that people will just open up and you'll have a kind of a very open kind of a discussion. Because to have an open discussion, we have to agree that we will not bring our ego in the picture. And so it's always like we're trying to kind of shield our egos. And so we're saying, okay, how can I accept that I was wrong there, or I messed up there, or something like that. So until a person has that kind of realization where they are ready to kind of accept, yeah, whatever is there, I'm going to kind of really accept the reality and go from there, you will not be able to kind of have a discussion. So you will always have to draw a line and just let it be at that point. So to absolutely try to make it up with everybody does not work, and it'll never work. So we will have to both kind of move towards that. So there's no question. And I mean, that's the whole thing about Baba is so that's why we need Baba, right? If it was so easy to communicate with everybody and everybody was ready to give up their ego, then I think the avatar didn't have to come down to kind of tell us all this. And so that's what kind of the way I look at it. People will always have that shield that they've built around them, and they will not allow you to go beyond that, and you will just have to kind of live by that line there. Hi Rosalie, how are you?
Yes, Rosalie is up next.
Hi, Merwan Jessawalla. Would you please say something about Nosherwan Satha? I just he just had such a key life in a way, like.
Oh yeah.
Could you please? Yeah, and I know you had good contact with him. Yeah.
Nosherwan is I'm sure that was his last birth or something like that. So this person was amazing. Yeah, you're right. Nosherwan Satha was amazing. He just, I mean, the Nosherwan lived. I mean, and I was telling earlier about the granduncles going to Meherabad and listening to Baba, and Nosherwan was one of the brothers who went to Meherabad, and Nosherwan used to tell me that he heard Baba talk, and so yeah, Nosherwan was with Baba his whole life, and even when Nosherwan went into politics, he was a member of the Maharashtra kind of the house there, and so he was elected there, and so he that time also he was always trying to benefit the poor and benefit the orphans. And I mean, you know about Nosherwan, he started that orphanage there in Ahmednagar, and in fact, I don't know if you're aware, they started a school of pharmacy, a college of pharmacy in Ahmednagar, and it's called NN Satha College of Pharmacy. So yeah, I'm really glad that they did that and put Nosherwan's name there. Though I'm sure Nosherwan wouldn't care, but that's how he was, and so.
And what about his how he worked with Gandhi?
Yes, so he was there in the the freedom movement, and so yeah, he did kind of work with Gandhi when all this was going on, and so yeah, he was instrumental. I mean, he was a non-violent person. Naturally, he was with Gandhi, and so they did yeah.
And this the oldest brother that Mary used to stop by on her way back from going to Arti, and she would stop at Akbar Press.
Yes.
And she says that Meherji was a very pure man. I only saw him one time there. And
Meherji, yeah. In fact, yeah. Next time you're there, have you seen that tape? I'll show you. So if you're there, if we meet together, there's a tape of all my granduncles, and so you would find that very interesting. Nosherwan and Meherji and all that are there, and I'm maybe 8 or 9 in that. This is kind of very interesting. Yeah. So yeah, remind me. We'll see that next time. Yeah.
Anyone else have any other questions for Merwan? If not, Merwan, I'll ask you a last question before we let you go. I know it's getting late on the East Coast, so we won't keep you up much longer. But I just wanted to know, as a child, did you meet Baba often? And when you did, how was that interaction? Or did he say anything to you that has stayed with you or affected you in a deep way?
So no, go ahead. So the only time that I remember Baba is, like I said, when it was the Dara and Amrit's wedding, and so they had the reception there in Meherazad. And in fact, the other day, I think Jonathan sent me a picture from a book, and in that book, there's a picture of Baba. Baba is kind of smiling away and doing something like that, and Roshan Kerawala is standing beside him, and Mehra Kerawala is in front of Baba, smiling away, and then my mom is behind there, and there's a boy in that, and he's crying away. I said, wow. Yes. Hi, Jonathan. So yeah, it is kind of quite interesting.
So that's
to see
you.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. You get one picture with Avatar, and that's when you were crying away and not trying to listen. Yes.
Okay, so aside from 68, were there any other occasions when you met Baba, or?
I don't remember. I'm sure. I mean, in my early days, most of my memories are. I mean, whenever I went to Meherazad, we used to kind of be there with Mehra and Mani and Goher and all of those people, and so I have some really good memories of having lunch and all that in the women's kitchen there, And I remember, I think after 10 or something, you couldn't go there. And so then my mom said, you can't come there. And I said, what do you mean I can't come there? So I have some good memories of having lunches there. And then after that, yeah, one thing that I kind of absolutely regret in some ways is not interacting enough with the Mandali that time. And I kind of, it never occurred to me that time that these are special times and they're going to go away. And it happened so fast. It was just amazing. And so pretty soon, one by one, all the kind of Mandali went away. And later, by the time I realized, oh, I missed out on that, I just said, well, what I got was what I got. You just had to kind of live with that and not worry about it. So, yeah, but that's what I feel happened. It just happened so fast. So if you don't take advantage of that, and that's another thing. I mean, I used to live in Ahmednagar, right? So I used to live in Ahmednagar, had a kind of a job there, and then I started a business there and had good things going there. And suddenly Baba, I don't know how, and it just happened so fast. It's amazing. Suddenly Baba sends you from Ahmednagar to the other side of the planet, and every morning I could just get up and go to the Samadhi early in the morning and go to the prayers there. And now if I have to go to the Samadhi, it's just like what it takes to go to India, to just go to that. And but yeah, you never kind of underestimate those kind of pleasures that you have, and you need to make the most of it.
Tony, sorry.
Yes. Yeah, it's just a little thing. It's a personal thing, but I did want to mention, I always had a kind of connection, a feeling of connection with Norina, particularly in her early days, where she played the Madonna in Max Reinhardt discovered her and put her in the cast, as I understood the story, because she had a spiritual quality, and she just sat on the stage for 2 hours motionless and emanated that quality. And throughout my life, from around when I was 30, Baba did things that he was clearly encouraging me to act. And I finally got off my butt maybe 20 years later, and I did some local community theater. But one day a friend said he was going to be directing a play at this local semi-professional theater. And it's a play called Shakespeare in Hollywood. And it's actually based on something that really happened when Max Reinhardt convinced Warner Brothers and Jack Warner to do a Shakespeare play in Hollywood, which was unheard of in those days. And I ordered the script and I started reading it. And it's a comedy. It's very funny. And the funniest character is Max Reinhardt. And I immediately took this German accent and fleshed out the whole thing. And I knew Baba wanted me in this play. And I auditioned. I got the part above anyone else. And my role involved being in the cast, then talking and explaining to the audience in character. And Baba's love spread so much because it was Max Reinhardt. I was always remembering Max and Norina and Baba. So indirectly, I just want to say thank you. Without that story, Baba couldn't have made that connection for me.
Oh, nice story. Thank you.
Jaya?
Thank you. Very good lecture. Recently, myself and Shilpa, my daughter-in-law, we met today in Myrtle Beach. If you remember, we traveled in the same car. And Dr. Jayashree from India then visited here.
Yes, I remember you. That's good.
Yeah, Shilpa was discussing about the management skills, everything. This is there. And now today,
Shilpa does that same thing, right? She works in Lean Six Sigma and operational excellence and all that.
Yeah.
That's
good. It happened. Luckily, today I could participate in this Zoom, and I'm very happy here. And then just one more thing, I want to you are mentioning about that servant and leader, about that one. I want to give an example for that. My husband, he worked for the Indian Army and he's retired as colonel. And then he when he was in a maintenance that is there, any power supply goes, anything, and he would climb all the poles and he would do everything. So all his others, they used to tell him, why, sir, why you are going there and all that. And he always would say, he would say the same thing. That's why just I remember that. It's servant leader, that he,
Say hi to Shiva.
always he
That's
used to quote
great.
that. He used to quote that, yes. Anyway, thank you very, just it is a very good talk, and really we enjoyed it. Anyway, I'm going to Shelpa just to watch again this one. It's very, very helpful for everybody, not only for Shilpa, all youngsters
That's
also.
great.
Yeah, thank you.
Rich.
Jai Baba.
Merwan, as a Westerner, Merwan, your whole history sort of a mystery to me, and not much was printed about all of the Zoroastrian relations and stuff, you know, for a long time. I'm 74, so I go way back in terms of reading and all. But was Meherji your direct uncle? Was it maternal or paternal?
Okay, so this is not Meherji Karkaria. This is
Yeah.
Meherji Satha. Yeah. So Meherji Satha. So the Sathas were 5 brothers and 4 sisters. So these were the Satha, and so the Sathas lived at Akbar Press and so later on, Rosalie was talking about Nosherwan, and so Nosherwan started Mayor Colony, and so he used to board foreigners, Westerners there in the Mayor Colony, and so in fact that's when I met Rosalie. Yeah. And this was in the 70s, and so yeah, Meherji. So we had Meherji, and then Nashwan and Jamshed and Homi, and then Pilu.
Thank you very much.
I guess we lost Merwan.
I'm sorry, I think I lost you for some reason. Hello?
Yeah, we are able to hear now.
Okay, you can hear me now? Okay,
Yes.
so those are my brothers, and then the 4 sisters. One was Gaimai, and then my grandma. And so, yeah, we lived in Akbar Press, and so that and my this Meherji, he spent his career in China. So he was in one of the mills there, the cloth mills in China, and then when he came back, they settled in Ahmednagar.
I'll try to get that straight in my head sooner or later. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Rosalie?
Merwan, what about your contact of meeting Elizabeth Patterson? Do you remember meeting her? What age?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember very clearly. Yeah. Elizabeth was quite something. So, yeah, we had quite some discussions. So I used to go to Meherazad, and she used to live in Meherazad. And so I went and met her a number of times there. And we used to write to each other also. So that time I was kind of pretty much in my 20s. So yeah, I interacted with her a lot. So yeah.
And your mom, say something about your mom, because I remember very clearly, you know, I think it just seemed to be a surprise when she passed away. So,
I know.
Yeah.
She came here to meet. So she came in 88, and so in fact, the 88 was the year that Ruki and I got married, and then we got married in June, and then she was with us June, July, August, September, and then I think in late September they went to India. My mom went to India, and then yeah, she had heart condition and all that. But yeah, she was a kind of a really an ardent follower of Baba, and you know, one of her stories, right? We went to once we went to Ruki's place in West Plains, and there was a plant that was hanging up there. Do you know this story? So there's a plant hanging up there, and so we told her, you sleep on this sofa. So we had a sofa that became a bed. And so we said, you sleep on the sofa. And so when we made the bed, she said, but remove this plant from up there. And that plant, it was a hanging plant. and so jokingly, I told her, you believe in Baba. Baba is not going to throw it on you, right? He's not going to throw this plant on you when you're sleeping. So her reaction was, she said, you know what Baba would do? Baba would throw the plant on me and will tell me, you stupid woman, didn't you have sense to sleep below this plant? I said, that's very true. Don't push everything onto Baba. First, you use your head. First, make sure that you're doing the right thing, and then leave it to Baba. But you cannot say, I'm going to be stupid, and Baba, please save me because I'm stupid. Yeah. Yeah. So.
And she, your father was, yeah. What age were you when your father passed?
Well, I was 10.
10.
Yeah. I passed. So I had gone to Ahmednagar for a break. I was in the boarding school, and so I'd gone for a break, and then he passed away in August. And in fact, it was that was another interesting story about my father, which kind of I found out later. This one guy, he told me that he was with Baba when, for some reason, Baba told my dad that you're going to come 6 months after I go. And I said, wait a minute, really? He said, yeah, Baba told your dad, and I was standing there when this happened. And it's amazing. I mean, Baba went in end of January, right? 31st of January. And my dad passed away at 25th of August. So yeah, it was pretty much 6 months. Yeah.
Okay. Betty?
Jai Baba Meherwan.
Jai Baba.
I'm wondering about Dan Satha. I have what I don't know if it's the same generation you were talking about, or is part of that family. Is that right?
That is correct. That is very correct. Dan Satha is she was my aunt. So she was the daughter of one of the Sathas. So she was Homi Satha's daughter, and she is. She just, I mean, I just enjoyed my years in Ahmednagar, right from 81 through, I think, 84, 85. I was there in India. And so she was an absolute gem of a person, very, very kind of a devoted person. I mean, if you really wanted to see how you have to live a life that is based on Baba's principles, you have to see Dan Satha. So I hope someday we'll be able to collect all her stories and kind of make them into a book. That'll be a worthy book. So I mean, she was so devoted; it's just unbelievable. Yeah.
And what about Banu? Say something about Banu. I like Banu so much.
Yeah, she was like a firecracker. I mean, just Banu Masi was just amazing. I mean, she was always on the. So at that time, Banu Masi used to live in Meherabad. And I remember one time I had gone there, and so we used to always naturally meet Banu Masi and Dadi before we go to Baba's Samadhi. And one day she had an issue with her servant. So she's telling me, this old lady, she is kind of making my life so difficult. And that old lady was maybe 20 years younger to Banu Masi. She said, you're not working fast enough for me. Yeah, Banu Masi is a special person.
Yeah. Very. Everyone in that family was so unique. I met, I remember Dan and Roshan, of course, and Gaimai. I used to go to Bindra House. We used to visit Bindra House very often when we were in Pune.
Yeah.
I remember the whole family.
Yeah.
So if anybody Does anybody have another question? No?
I had a question about Baba's voice.
Oh. Okay.
Well, I
So
just
the
wondered
only-
if the uncles, if the
We want
granduncles.
we want an imitation.
Well, the only thing I remember, I asked Nashwan about that. I asked Nashwan about Baba's voice. How was Baba's voice? And he said Baba had a very kind of like a singing voice, and it was a very soothing singing voice. And so that's what I remember Nashwan telling me. So
Well,
Thank you.
We'll just all have to come back to hear that again, right? Anyway,
We have to let him go. My goodness.
it's very late. Meherwan, I want to thank you so very much. We have all gained so much from your innate Baba-given wisdom. We have all learned a lot, and we thank you so much for joining us and for giving us all your time and your expert advice. So, Jai Baba to you.
Jai Baba, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Thank you, Merwan.
Jai Baba, Merwan.
Let's end
Jai
with three.
Baba, Rosalie.
Jai
Jai
Baba.
Baba, John.
Next time, the whole family. The whole family.
It's late, so yeah.
Really, really, I
Baba.
love
Avatar, Meher Baba.
DJ.
Jai.
Avatar,
Avatar
Meher
Meher Baba.
Baba.
Jai.
Avatar,
Avatar Meher Baba.
Baba.
Jai.
Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you, Goher.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you,
Thank
Goher.
you all
Thank you,
of you.
go here.
Thank you for your patience in the beginning, and thank you for all your help. That was
Baba
for-
did it.
Baba
It was worth the wait. Well worth the
Yeah,
wait.
yes,
It sure was.
wonderful. Thank you. Oh, thank
Oh.
you, everyone. Thank you, Gaur. Jai.
Hey, Baba. Good night, everyone. See you next week.
Hi, Jai Baba.
Hey,
Jai
Baba.
Baba.
Jai
Thank you,
Baba.
Betty, for clearing me in.